Hey guys, welcome to another episode of 5 Question Friday, my favorite episode of the week, and this week is very, very special. We're at another seminar, this time in London at CrossFit Thames.
What are your thoughts on contract memberships versus month-to-month memberships?
Oh, okay.
Also looking at the aspect of if you're an owner that wants is looking at selling their box.
Right, really good question. Okay, so I like contracts in theory, but the problem is we don't have contracts. We have useless bits of paper because a contract is only a contract if we enforce it. And the truth is most CrossFit boxes, thankfully, are nice people who don't want to lock people in, who don't want to send somebody to the debt collectors if they decide to leave because we didn't service them well enough. And so all that means is the downside of contracts obviously is when people sign up, it's a hurdle to get over, right? So now we have that downside, but the upside, which is guaranteed income, we don't have that guaranteed income anymore because it's not guaranteed. It's only guaranteed if we take people to court, if we send people to the debt collectors, and we don't do that. I've met one box owner who does that, and he's a bit of a dick, right? So now you raised a really good point because there's only two instances really that I would look at doing contracts. One is if you know in the future you're going to want to go to the bank and get a big loan, they're going to want to see proof of income. So having contracts is really good there. But even then, to be honest, the bank is still more concerned with your profitability than it is with your contract. Or the other option is sometimes if you're going to sell. Now the problem is, and it depends on every country slightly different and depending on whether you're a sole trader or a business or a company or how you're set up, but a lot of the time we can't actually on-sell contracts because if someone signs the contract with us, then we can't, if we sell on to someone else, they have to re-sign that contract with someone else. We can only pass those contracts on in good faith. Now that's different in every country, so I could be talking out of my ass for the UK. But long story short, contracts, if they're not enforceable, then they mean nothing to us. It's a blankie that protects us from the boogeyman, but the blankie's not gonna do shit. We go, oh, I'm protecting my revenue, but we're actually not protecting our revenue. Anyone can leave anytime they want. And one of the most annoying arguments towards this is, oh, but just having the contract in general will increase retention because people don't feel like they can leave. That's a shitty way to think about things. That's like saying, I can be an arsehole and my wife won't leave because we signed a prenup. Like if I'm relying on a piece of paper to keep people here when they don't want to be here, that sucks. So, I want people to only stay if they want to stay. If they don't want to stay, go. I don't deserve them. Why? If I'm giving a shitty service, I don't want people. So, long story short, I like contracts in theory. I recommend them for a lot of other businesses, but for most CrossFit gyms, they just don't make sense. They don't work the way we think they're going to work because we don't use them the way that we should, which is fine. The exceptions being if you're going to get a large loan from the bank in the future, or maybe if you're going to sell, maybe.
How do you franchise a CrossFit gym?
Oh, really good question. I like this question because everyone should ask this question, even if you don't want a franchise. Because to become a franchise, to get to that point, firstly, you have to find a business model that works. Secondly, you have to simplify the shit out of that business model, which is what we've talked a lot about, finding what our core competency is, being the best at that, being undeniable at that. So I love that. Then the biggest thing about franchises is you have to systematize the hell out of it. And not just systems, but systems for dummies. Systems that you cannot mess this up, which every box should do anyway. So I want to see every box pretend like they're going to franchise one day, even if they never intend to, because those steps are the steps that a healthy box should take in the first place. Now, the steps on actually going the next level and franchising and doing that from a legal point of view, that's something that's not my specialty at all, but you can go to accountants and stuff like that. You get certain specific franchisee advisors that can do all the framework and stuff. One thing you've got to be aware of, and again, it changes in every country, so I don't want to talk out of my ass, but when you franchise, there's certain kind of two-way limitations. You generally put limitations on the franchisee, right? So they open their version of your box. It's very much use our programming, use our systems, you coach the way we want you to, all that stuff, which is fine. It's just something to be aware of. That's obviously why CrossFit HQ hasn't gone the franchising model. They've gone the affiliation or licensing model. So that's one important thing to realize. And that kind of can work back the other way as well, where by doing that, you have to be really confident in what you're giving them. Because if you say you can do this and only this, you better be really fucking sure that this works. Which again is a good motivator to make sure that your systems are right, all of your best practices and stuff are right. But
do you think would be any pushback from the coaches taking on the franchise in terms of getting their kind of personal mark on a gym?
No, because I don't think so, at least, because most gyms aren't called Ty's CrossFit Gym. You know what I mean? Yeah. And look, people want to be part of something bigger than themselves. You know, a perfect example of this is what used to be called CrossFit Tribe is now called Tribe Fitness. They de-affiliated because the community kind of went at them with pitchforks and fire sticks back in the early days. But I haven't looked recently, but I'm pretty sure they've got over 100 locations now. And these, even though they're not called CrossFit anymore, you look and you go, yeah, that's CrossFit. And these guys run a strict franchise model. And you see the meetings that they have, the franchise meetings, where if you're interested, come along and find out more, the info night. And there's 80 people in the room going, I want to open a franchise. You know, so is it possible? Absolutely, it's possible. Now, the question is, should you do it? Well, that all comes back to the page 7, the ultimate life. Because franchising is a shitload harder than just running a single box, obviously, right? Because all of a sudden now, as a company, it can't just be you. You've also got to have a property agent, because you've got to find all these different franchises. You've got to find them places. You've got to have a legal team, because there's a lot of legal stuff involved. Your insurance goes up. There's a lot of other considerations. So the question is it worth it? Yeah. Is it the fastest, most efficient way to get you to that page 7? Yeah. That's where whether to do it or not comes down to the page 7.
So obviously we place a huge emphasis on community.
Yes.
But if we do notice cliques build up,
yep,
and they become damaging to the community, what's the best way to address that and deal with it?
Absolutely. So I'll go back to kind of the answer that doesn't matter if you're at this point, but if you're not at this point, you really want to focus on, which is don't let the cliques form up too much in the first place. You're never going to stop cliques from forming, right? Any community starts to grow, it'll naturally start to fragment into like-minded people. It's not a bad thing, it's just human nature. We're never going to stop that you're never going to stop the mums from wanting to go get coffee after the mums class. But at least within your class, you can manage it. So doing things like, especially if I start to see cliques forming, doing things like team warm-ups, team workouts, you can do, but you just can't do them too often. But team warm-ups you can do a lot of, where you choose the teams. I almost always, when I'm coaching, if we're doing a strength piece and people are going to pair up for that, I pair them up. Partly because as a coach, I know who should be paired up. Just because you guys are friends doesn't mean you should be paired up. One's 6'2" and one's 5'9". It's not going to work out, right? But also because I want to make sure that it's not just about separating cliques. It's about like, hey, this is Bob. You might not know Bob. Maybe you like Bob. You know, I want my community members to kind of get to know each other a little bit. So stuff like that. Same thing when we organize social events and activities. Get outside, and if you've got to break people off, you choose. Because also, if you don't choose, look, we're all in high school. We're just a bit taller and hairier than back then, right? So if you do anything, a team workout or a social event, you go, all right, guys, jump into pairs of 4, right? And you've got an odd number outside of 4. Someone's going to get left, just like they were in high school, not getting picked for the soccer team. So instead, if I do it, I can put the groups together, not just from a coach's point of view, but also to manage the community. So again, it comes down to that spider versus wolf thing. The spider sits there and goes, all right, sort it out. But the wolf goes, look, I want you guys to meet, and I want you to hang out. And I want, there's a great warm-up that we do where everybody goes around the outside of the gym and we pick, 3 different movements and 3 different questions. So first we say you're going to bear crawl around the gym to every other person. You're going to high five. You're going to tell each other your name, and then you're going to do 3 partner push-ups, right? And then you go back to the outside. Now you're going to crab walk around the gym. You're going to go up to every member. You're going to high five, and you're going to tell each other you're professional, what you do for work. And then you're going to do, partner sit-ups. And then we go back around the outside, and we do duck walks. And you're going to go up to every member. You're going to tell each other your favorite flavor of ice cream. And then you're going to do partner squats, 5 partner squats or something. And at the end of the class, I'm going to pick 3 random people to tell me someone else's name, job, and favorite flavor of ice cream. And if you get it wrong, the whole group's going to do 50 burpees, right? And this is real. It sounds silly, but the whole class, you've got people, walking to get gear and going like, chocolate mint. That's right. You know, you see people running in and out of the gym on their 400-meter runs, and like saying like, lawyer, ice cream, vanilla. You know, like, because no one wants to do burpees, right? And then at the end, when you say like, oh, tell me his favorite flavor of ice cream, if they don't know, they'll cheat. The other guy will go, vanilla. And that's fine as well. The whole point is I'm getting people to go like, oh man, you're a builder? That's cool. I didn't know that about you. So yeah, the long and the short is, like anything in our gym, if you sit back and just let it grow, you know, people say like, oh, my community grows organically. So does your garden, and your garden gets weeds if you don't tend to it, right? It's the same thing with the community. You've got to actively get in, and a little bit of social engineering every now and then.
So when I Googled my way to this gym to find my way, I have discovered that there are like 2 global gyms, 2 personal training studios, and like 2 or 3 other CrossFit boxes.
Yeah.
So my question is, you as a CrossFit gym owner,
Yeah.
how would you deal with those guys? Would you be a friend and try to cooperate? Would you be a competitor and try to beat them? Or would you be just neutral and do nothing?
Yeah, absolutely. I would deal with them the same way that Mercedes-Benz deals with Toyota. I'd just be better, right? So firstly, like if anyone is confusing us, and this is kind of a broader answer, I guess, but we need to establish this. If anyone is confusing our gym with another gym, that's our fault. Especially if they're confusing our gym with a cheaper gym that has less service, right? Like a Globo gym. That's, you know, you're never going to confuse a Mercedes-Benz with a Toyota, ever. Even if you've never seen a car in your life, you're still going to go like, oh, that's better, obviously. So I'm going to do nothing, and I'm just going to stand out from the crowd. I see people try and do like collab type stuff, and it so rarely works, and it takes up a lot of time, and then eventually usually falls on its ass. So I don't bother with that. I certainly don't it's this weird thing where you don't want to be actively competitive, where you're going, oh, what are they doing? And looking at their website, looking at their Facebook page. But at the same time, you still need that little bit of drive in the back of your mind that goes, hey, you know, I'm glad there's all these other gyms, and I want to crush their face. You know, you do need a little bit of something there, right? But for the most part, I just let them do what they want to do. And here's the thing, as much as I want to crush their face, the truth is that they can win, and I can win, and 5 other boxers in the area can win, because we're all in some sort of city or town with a decent population. If you're in a town where there's 5 gyms and 400 people, all right, maybe you got to do a little bit of firebombing here and there, but you're not. There's enough people in this town or your town where you can have all the members you can handle, and so can they, and so can 10 other gyms, and there still be people out there that want fitness. So if we're not doing well, it has nothing to do with them. It's all to do with us, right? We never blame another gym for that bullshit. I guess what I'm getting at here is what we do is not a zero-sum game, right? It's not a situation where, you know, 2 people enter the ring, only 1 leaves type thing. This is a weird kind of boxing match where 2 people enter the ring and they both win. You know, we can all win. We don't need to beat down on other people or blame other people. So, short answer, what do I do about other gyms? Nothing. Just be better. Yeah.
So Ty, seeing that you've been all over the world to many different boxes,
Yes.
when you're going in, what's the best system that you've seen to help coaches feel feel like they've been given a value of worth by the box owner, to help them with their development, to help upskill them, so it means that you can allow them to be the best coach they can be?
There's a lot of systems when it comes to just making the coach feel valued. There's a lot. Like I would say, number 1, the coach's standards, as long as they're created in conjunction with the coaches, is really important, because that's the overriding rules that all the coaches have to follow. And so if the coaches know that they had a hand in those rules, that they were involved in creating them, that it wasn't just here, do this, that's probably one of the biggest ones. So if I say to make sure that coaches feel valued, it would be coaches' standards, which sounds crazy. I'm going to make you feel valued by giving you rules, but it's about you being involved in that process, you know. In terms of ongoing development, it's got to be the monthly coach assessment. You know, we can all be better all the time, you know, and it blows me away that box owners don't, at the most they might see a coach a class and just at the end go like, oh, hey man, maybe do this next. That's it. If this is the product, our coaches are the product, right? That's everything. Our core competency is CrossFit or whatever you deliver, and the coaches are the people who deliver that, right? So we have to actively be trying to make them better. And yeah, sure, send them to seminars and do personal development and coaches meeting and all this stuff. That's fine, but that costs money and takes time. Still do it, but it's a lot easier to just go, cool, once a month, I'm going to watch a class and I'm going to take notes of the operations and the technical and the communication and the experience for each of those classes. And then we'll sit down as soon as you're finished. We'll go, cool, this is what you did well, awesome work. This is what I think you can do better. Let's come up with a plan to fix that. And then next month, we sit, I watch another class. I'm particularly watching for those things that we agreed that we'd try and do better at. And then we do it all again. We do it all again. And I've never seen a coach that was pissed off about this. I never saw a coach that was like, oh, he's telling me what to do. Like, you don't hire those people in the first place, you know. The coaches are always going to be grateful. You know, a lot of the time they go, oh, do I really do that? Yeah. Shit, I didn't even realize. Okay, cool, I definitely don't want to do that. So yeah, in terms of just value, as funny as it sounds, the coaches' standards, the rules by which coaches coach by, get them invested and involved with that. It means that they'll adhere to those rules a lot better as well. And in terms of coaches' development, you know, it's easy, it's free. You only have to do it once a month, the monthly coach assessment. There you go, guys. That's it. 5 Question Friday, live from CrossFit Thames here in London at the seminar. As always, if you've got any questions at all, please drop a comment below. If you want me to answer it anonymously, send me a message. Have a great weekend. You deserve it. I love you all. Mwah! I'll see you next week.